Oceanborn brand is the first brand I came with some first product with. That's what you're seeing now. Well, I came with those because that was a brand where my creations that you will find in that brand are more dedicated for big, strong fish. Mostly saltwater, because most of the powerful fish in the world are in saltwater. But if you want to go in Brazil and catch a big peacock bass, you want to have a lure that's super reinforced, that has strong hooks, strong, full wire and stuff like that. So this is what Oceanborn is about. And then we have Engage, soft baits and hard lures. Engage will be the main lure brands because many of the lures, soft or hard, can go in many different places and fish and catch different fish and please the anglers. Let me give you an example. I'm pretty sure all of you here know the stick shad. Well, I designed the stick shad first of all in Europe when I was, maybe 10 years before I created Sebile. I didn't create it because I wanted to do business. That was a lure I created for myself and I was fishing with it. And someday I decided to create a lure brand. So then I took some of the lure I made myself to turn them into production so I can share, I can give other people the chance to buy them and to fish and have fun with them. So when I was working on that, what were the main fish I was catching with the stick shad back in Europe? That was pike, that was perch, some bass. Well, it ended up to be the #1 seller in the southeast in the US for inshore fishing, for the redfish and the sea trout. But in Japan, it turned to be my #1 selling bait for largemouth bass. So that's why a brand like Engage have a range of lures, both soft, hard, metal baits, that have a wide range of possibilities. Now, they are regular baits in terms of construction. The very strong are under Oceanborn. That makes sense for Oceanborn. And then we have another brand that's Hyperlastics. Within Engage brand, I will have some plastic that are conventional soft plastics. But for certain shapes that needs more technicity, I need to use different type of material. So for Hyperlastics, I will be using material that you cannot mix with regular soft plastic. So it's very clear. Hyperlastic is that kind of soft plastic, like Z-Man. Now people are aware, you don't take a Z-Man soft plastic and put that in a bag with a zoom, because 2 days later you have a big mess into that. That's it, that's chemicals. So that's why Hyperlastic have this kind of material, when within Engage we'll have more conventional type of soft plastic. So you see, that's just logical. We have Clever Tackle. Clever Tackle is where I'm going to bring all kind of tools that really helps. Am I planning to come just with the basic plier that you've seen 100 times with 100 different brands? Surely not. The idea of Clever Tackle is to bring something that really brings something, a plus to me as an angler and to other anglers, so to our business as well. And as I say, a band of anglers is not a brand, it's a team of people who come and join together. And I have some of the creations that we're offering now and some that are under works now that are not my creation. And in the case of Clever Tackle, after we will be done on that video, I will recommend you to go and meet with this gentleman. Tim is the one who came with a fantastic idea for a de-hooker. And when we talk about that and he showed me his first prototype, I was like, yes, that's great. That helps. It gives a much better holding power when you want to remove a hook. How many times, especially on circle hooks, how many times you're struggling to remove a circle hook? Well, his solution helps to make it much easier than any other de-hooker that's on the marketplace. Any. So that's why it makes just sense. First, we are friends for a long time. He's a great fishing guide in Fort Pierce. He knows what he talks about. Again, it's not one dude who come fresh from school and he got hired by one company. Oh, you're a designer. Okay, work for us and do design of product. Well, when Tim designed, when he had the idea of his pliers, it came from his deep experience. It came from his guts more than anything else. And now, if you see the reaction of the people on this booth the last couple of days with his pliers, his de-hookers, it's amazing. People get it, People get it. That's kind of funny because even show, you have to have some people from some company signing.
I had noticed that Z-Man and even last we had to at the beginning, they still struggle with
and now they see it on the booth and they were there and said, oh yeah, in fact, indeed, that was really great, They just didn't get it because it was innovative. If you want just to copy the current stream of the product, then yeah, oh yeah, I need to have the same as this. I've heard that so many times the last 7 years. Oh, let's copy that. They sell well, let's copy it. Yeah, true innovation have always a part of risk. But that's where you can have greatness. That's where you can bring something that really brings something to the anglers. And by bringing something to the anglers, well, that helps the business to bring something that's good and better, instead of just having whoever brand it is, oh, one more copy of that Duker that's, we've seen the same for 20 years with 20 different brands. Now, you're gonna see something that's truly something that's advanced, that's truly innovative. And then we have ocean-born rods also. Ocean-born rods, I'm bringing something now 31 years after I bring it first to the market. In fact, that innovation that you will see on my ocean-born rods is the innovation that puts me in the tackle business when I was 18. I have my first contract when I was 18, thanks to a rod I designed when I was 15 or 16 to fish a fish I love in Europe that's called the gilted sea bream, and that's extremely finicky. And I realized I need a rod that casts very well, and there were different types of rods that were casting well, especially the rods that were designed for carp fishing, but they were not sensitive enough. So I have the idea to cut the tip and to put a fiberglass tip. But first what I did was simple, logical. I put several guides on that tip. But with several guides, when there was a lot of current, like 2 knots, 3 knots, 4 knots sometimes, the vibration were not absorbed, and I noticed there were few bites. And I want to try, what if I remove the guides and only keep the last guide? It was looking weird, but it was absorbing the vibration, and suddenly I got more bites and more bites. The problem was, that tip was so soft, with one guide, quite regularly, when casting, I will have the line tangling around, and two things, or my cast will just go next to me, or the line will break and the 4 ounce weight will fly away 200 yards without my line. So then I have that idea, how can I solve it? I still want to have that one piece with no guide in the middle, because that's really the best for catching fish, but I don't want to have that problem. So I have the idea, simple idea I think, I put a second guide, like 1 inch or less from the last guide. Totally 100% eliminate all kind of problem of the line wrapping around. Zero. So what I'm bringing now is not a rod for the gilted sea bream. It's not one with a soft. It's a range of rods. We have about 12 models now. Not all of them are here on the display, but we're coming with about 12. Well, but quite often when we fish, especially with lures, when you cast, all day long, you cast your little bait if you're inshore, or your big popper if you're targeting tuna. You're casting 100, if not 1,000 times every day. And especially sometime when you make that snap cast, or if the wind is in the back of you, the braid goes around and twists, and here comes the problem again. So that's why I'm bringing, for two reasons, I'm bringing that innovation that puts me first in the business 31 years ago, double guide. So now we totally 100%, I promise you will try hopefully yourself, 100% eliminate all the problem of the line tangling around, all the problem of the line that breaks. Now it adds one more thing. By having a bigger guide at the end and a regular size guide just before that, I create a little funnel. When you fish with lures now, do you use mono? A few Ks for bass on a casting rod, but that's it. Now the main line we're using in most situations are braid. And braid, especially in saltwater, you don't want to tie the braid. It's not bass. Bass have no teeth. You can tie, your 65-pound braid on a bucktail or on, some bait and cast and retrieve and hook your bass and land it like this. Yeah, but in saltwater, most of the time we need to have fluorocarbon leader. So you have a knot. Some knots are pretty thin, like the Slim Beauty or the Sebile knot that I designed. Some knots are bigger, but there's always a knot. Well, the little funnel effect I create at the end of the rod, thanks to the two guides, helps the knot coming in and out. It's not day and night change. The most important thing is you don't have the wrap problem anymore, even on the jigging rod and casting, no problem. But you also have that benefit of something that helps you 1,000 times a day, a knot going in, a knot going out. So you see, that's the range of the brands we have right now. It's wide to cover different offer and to be clear. And well, we have to pass message. So I'm sorry, the introduction was maybe a bit longer than you expected, but I don't know to explain all those things in a shorter way and shorter time. Now I will, and I really like to share with you the ideas, the innovation, the mindset behind several of the creations you have here. So let's start with the two lures that are already available right now, that are the flying pencil and the flying popper. So ocean-born, I explained that before, ocean-born is about big fish, saltwater, but big fish in general. So they are stronger, but you know, if you have a good lure that swims well, that is strong. But if the lure don't cast well enough, if you don't reach the fish, you can't catch the fish you don't reach. So distance is, beside of the swim action, is a key thing, especially when you fish big waters. If you're in a bass boat and you follow the shoreline to pitch your bait, no big deal for bass, right? But you're in saltwater and the tuna keeps swimming away, or you're from the beach and you're in the northeast and you see the striped bass. If they are 20 yards farther than what you can cast, well, you have no bite, period, or few. Well, I was like, what can I bring? On which way, what can I do? What can I work for that I can reach a point where my lure will significantly make longer casts? They will swim well anyway, but I must find ways that I make lures that cast on a much significant longer distance than anything else similar. Because you want to compare apples to apples, orange to orange, right? So what I did, I came first with two very conventional shapes. Basically, a pencil and a popper. I had one just that's not in the packaging. Thank you very much. So that's a neck popper, that's a pencil. You've seen, 24 of brands having this type. So the shape themselves, on purpose, I took shapes that are conventional, people are used with, no problem. But what I did was to work on what I can to really increase that distance. So two things here. First of all, the most important, and that's what you see when you see that sticker, Flying Series. Flying Series is about the lure that are specially enhanced for the distance. So the ribs underneath, it's no gimmick. If you look, a golf ball is round, but it has many little dimples around. Why? Because when the ball goes through the air, those dimples, the ball turn and twist in the air, and they create micro turbulence, and that cuts the air resistance, the air friction, for a longer and more accurate cast with their golf ball. This is the same thing. The big difference is you don't want to have a lure twisting all the way around in the air. You want the lure to go very straight. So I have to adjust from the dimple. So I try different shape, I try different things until I find what was the most efficient for longer distance. I want you to be the test in front of everybody. Give me your hand like this. This is the finish that almost every single lure have in the market. So you can feel the way you feel it underneath your finger. That's what happens in the air when the lure fly fast. Now, tell me what you feel about that.
Yeah, I like that.
You see? Because for every lure in the market, about 85%, that's a lot, 85% of the air friction and air resistance is underneath the belly. Why? Why the belly? Very simple. All the lures we have weight typically where the belly is. So the lure flies in the air and want to fall down because Earth gravity. So that's why when the lure want to fly and fall down, that's why you have most of the friction here. Here you have turbulence behind, not much friction. So I work where it matters the most, that means the belly. And by having those ribs, between the ribs you create turbulence, and that's why it goes so well. And then the wings themselves. The wings have a little angle on the back and a different angle on the front. So when they catch the air, there's a lot, the lure flies pretty quick, when you just snap, with the rod. So you have a lot of air lift on that point, and then the air goes there and stabilize and give you that great help for distance. So when I'm talking about comparing apple to apple, this one is a 16 centimeter, 160 millimeter, so it's a bit more than 6 inch long. Without naming any, but there are several pencil poppers on the market, and one of them or two of them are quite famous and popular. Well, if you take a floater and you compare with my competition floater, we have 5 to 10% better cast. It's not day and night, but still it's more yards in your cast to reach a fish that's far away. Now, I was able also, and one thing as I'm on the floating one, and that's true for both the popper and the pencil, what I'm saying now. The floater casts better than the same shape, same length with a different breadth. But once they're in the water, the wings on the side add some lift underneath the lure.
Okay.
And the ribs being cut.
These guys here can
Think about a regular lure, this is the belly. So when the lure moves sideways to do a walking the dog action, you have a certain amount of resistance because the shape of the belly. Now the belly here have the ribs, so that also helps for the water to flow more easily to have a better walking the dog action. So not only we cast a bit better, and we have a much better action thanks to that. Secondly, once we pass that, you want to increase your distance, you go to the sinking model. Sinking is obviously heavier. If you take the example of the pencil here, look the weight. We have a 2.5 ounce weight. We go to the sinker, we go to a 3 ounce. Well, it's a decent amount of weight more that helps for better casting. And when you retrieve, because you have the lift of the water underneath the wings, and that's why there's a little angle like this. It's not flat. The wings are not exactly on the axle of the lure. They are a little bit like this. So when you start to work the lure back, the lift helps, even if it's a sinking lure, to keep it on the top, even at a slow speed. Plus, and that's a big plus, hear me well, I promise you that's a big thing. You can use this bait, the sinking model, as a swim bait. If you go super slow, for example, when you need to fish for tarpon or striped bass, sometimes you need to go as slow as you can, especially night time. Well, you cast this thing and you have that super slow retrieve and it swims. You have a pencil popper that swims. You have a bottleneck popper that swims on a very slow speed. And now, let me go to the Ultimat. The Ultimat distance maker, SLD. We have the floater, we have the sinker, we have the SLD, which means super long distance. Because the wings and the lift the wings give to the lure on the water, look the difference in weight. Tell us what is the weight of the floating and what is the weight of the SLD.
2.5 ounces, 4.5.
2.5 ounces, 4.5 ounces. And you know what? Even 4.5 ounces with a slow retrieve is on the top. So now we are talking, if you compare this one, which already the floating beats my competition for the same size length of lure, it beats my competition. But this one casts twice longer distance than the floater. Twice. Now we're talking. You need to reach the fish that are really far away. This is no gimmick. This is no gimmick. Now, to go deeper into the SLDs, that's why it takes time, because what I explained for those guys is true for the several lures that will be underneath the flying series. They are so heavy, you can use them as jigs. I'm not kidding you. You have a top water that you can be jigging 70 feet deep for an amberjack. So you cast them, let them swim, you jig them on the bottom, and then you want to bring them to the top, you swim them, they swim as a swim bait, all the way to the top, and now it's back as a top water lure. It's no magic, it's just understanding the laws of physics and translating those laws into shapes. That's why I took conventional shapes, but I added those ribs, I added those wings, and here you go. Here you have a lure, you can jig 70, 100 feet deep if you want. You can swim as a swim bait, and the SLD, you can swim at a faster speed than the SK. On purpose, I make two different settings, so the SK is the one you want to use for the super slow retrieve, when the SLD is the one you can use as a search bait on a medium speed retrieve. So, jig it, swim it, pop it. And we will go with a nice range. So 160 and 140 are the size for those two guys. But in fact, for the pencil, we will go with a 200, which is about 7.5 inch, I believe, something like that for 200. We will have a 135, which is a teeny bit bigger than that. We will have a 110, which is a little bit smaller than that. And for the popper, we will have a 170. So this is 140. We will have the 120, and we have the teeny 100. So good coverage, you know, whatever, it's a redfish, a trout, a tarpon, a yellowfin tuna, striped bass. In terms of top water, that will cover those guys pretty well. So the ocean-born have several shapes. This is the flying crusher. That's the lure you see in the logo. That lure is very important to me. That's why it's in the logo. I create something that many believe that was not possible to do. You know, this industry, this business is about fishing, but 90% of the business is made with the average angler. Why the best angler catch more fish? Well, they're best angler because, for example, they know how to twitch and to jerk a lure, so the lure have an erratic action. But most of the average angler, they don't really know how to do or to create an erratic action. Well, I designed the flying crusher with a shape that when you have a steady retrieve, it swims about 1 foot wide, and suddenly you don't know why, but it goes tight, go up, go down, tight. All of that because I designed that shape and I made a balance, a perfect balance. But thanks to the ribs, you remember the ribs, they help to cast. But when you retrieve the lure, the ribs create turbulence in the water. So this lure is very, very well balanced. But because the turbulence underneath the tail, turbulence are the things that break the balance, and that's why it's very erratic. You never know if it's going wide or tight or up or down. So it's fantastic fish catcher. And that's why I decided to put that in the logo, because I think that lure have the chance or the potential at least to be the very very big, very strong bait for ocean-born, for this range. Now, still into that range, the last one I want to show you in the ocean-born is the flying whiteback. Obviously the name says it all, flying whiteback, so you have the ribs cast better, but wide, so it's a meaty, bait to seduce the predator. It's a bit like us. Sometimes you prefer that nice size meal instead of that teeny piece. So, but where is the big innovation? This. The bill is the big innovation. Because minnows with a bill, if you have a thin bill, the lure swim great, but the thin bill are weak, they break or they bend if they are made of metal. If you have a thick bill, well, the thick bill is strong, resists very well. The fish can hit them. You put the fish in the boat, the fish, shake his head, bam, a tarpon in the boat makes a lot of mess, bam, oh, the bill is broken. Well, I came with that totally new type of design where I have a metal bill, but that metal bill is anchored in 2 places in the lure. So now it's super strong, but sideways, the print in the water is very thin, like a thin bill. So now I have the best of both worlds. I have a great swim action and I have something that's really, really tough. So this is the ocean-born brand. Now, engage.